You are watching Channel Y. Channel Y, a South Asian Canadian channel.
On behalf of Y Media Group, I'd like to welcome Mayor Brown on Channel Y, Radio Y. Hi, Mayor Brown. A very warm welcome. How are you?
Very good. Always a pleasure to be on your show.
You're very welcome. And we did hear the announcement yesterday. So what prompted you, Mayor Brown, to jump at the federal Conservative leadership race?
So, I'm not happy with the same old broken approach by the federal Conservative Party. I don't believe that Justin Trudeau is doing a good job for Canada. Life is becoming more unaffordable. Canada is falling further behind, but the Conservative Party has lost their way. And I have taken issues up that I'm passionate about, like stopping Bill 21 in Quebec and fighting for religious freedom. And I'm tired to see Canada's opposition sit silently in the face of discrimination. As Mayor of Brampton, I have gone across the country soliciting support from other Canadian cities to fight to the Supreme Court against this discriminatory bill. And now that there's an opening on the federal level, I feel I owe it to my children and to my residents not to just sit on the sidelines, but to really take this fight up and make sure that the Canada of inclusion, the Canada where everyone, no matter who they love, where they're born, the color of their skin, what God they worship, everyone has opportunities in this country. And right now, the fact that in one of our provinces, if you wear a turban, a hijab, a kippah, a cross, you can't be a teacher, a nurse, a firefighter, a police officer, a judge, a crown attorney, is fundamentally wrong. And every month we're hearing about new cases of Canadians who have to flee Quebec because of their faith. Remember Emmerich Kaur, who, because of her Sikh faith, was not allowed to be a teacher in Quebec and had to go to BC. I'm tired of hearing those stories because one of the beautiful things about Canada is one of our foundational values is religious freedom. And if we allow religious freedom to be diminished in Quebec, who knows where it goes next? Who knows where that precedent will lead and what other provinces will adopt a discriminatory practice like that? And because of the lack of courage by the Prime Minister and by the Conservative establishment like Pierre Poilievre, who are supporting this discriminatory bill, I felt it incumbent to stand up, be counted, and speak out that I will always fight for and defend religious freedom.
Mr. Brown, Mr. Poilievre was in Brampton this weekend, and this morning again he's making announcements. And of course there are other candidates, Jean Charest and others as well. How are you any different than other leaders who are aspiring to become the Conservative leader?
I think it's a stark difference. Pierre Poilievre and the old establishment of the Conservative Party represent a very narrow view of Canada. I represent a view that we're all in this together, that a big tent Conservative Party. It was, after all, Mr. Poilievre who, was behind that, his campaign manager behind that barbaric tip line announcement in 2015, behind the niqab ban and, not recognizing the dangers of hate and Islamophobia. And now, he's complicit with the support for Bill 21, which is an attack on religious freedom. I represent a different approach. I represent an approach that says I will fight for every Canadian. It doesn't matter your faith. I will fight for every Canadian. I do not accept the Conservative silence on issues of discrimination, and I will change the path for the party to be one that welcomes everyone into our party.
And also, how would you be any different than what our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is doing? If you had to pick three important priorities, what would that be?
Oh, there's a long list there. Let's start. Energy sovereignty, energy independence. Justin Trudeau has created roadblocks at every stage in terms of Canadians being able to use our own natural resources. That needs to end. The fact that under Justin Trudeau, we have to buy natural resources from foreign despots is unfathomable. The fact that we buy oil from Saudi Arabia and Russia and not use our own Canadian natural resources is wrong. I look at law and order. We have a revolving door justice system, and Justin Trudeau has allowed a justice system that favors criminals over victims. I've been on your show before talking about bail reform and why we need, we can't have a system where a justice system where the police work incredibly hard. They engage in extensive investigations. They arrest the criminal, and then only to see that criminal released on bail. Remember the case of Henderson Bellman, where in Brampton we had someone who was released on bail 5 times, and then on the 5th time, they murdered their intimate partner. I want to make sure we fix the revolving door justice system. So those are just 2 examples of how I would take a different approach. Not to mention that on Bill 21, on this discrimination against faith communities in Quebec, Justin Trudeau has sat silently by and said the federal government will not intervene to defend our own Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. I cannot believe the Prime Minister of Canada will not stand up for the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Anything, if you would have been the Prime Minister, what's happening in Ukraine, Russia, anything you would have done differently?
Well, certainly I find it incredibly egregious, this barbaric invasion of Ukraine by Russia. I think on the issue of the Ukrainian invasion, all parties are together. We all stand in solidarity, that we stand with the Ukrainian people, that we are allies to them, and whatever tools that we can provide them to defend themselves, we should. I would say that I think the government was then slow off the mark in terms of what resources we can provide the people of Ukraine. And additionally, there's a refugee crisis right now in Ukraine. And there is too much bureaucracy in Ottawa. People that are fleeing war and persecution should have a homeland in Canada. There's been so many occasions throughout Canadian history where those who are fleeing persecution have come to Canada and built a better life. And I want to make sure that we have a capacity to welcome those Ukrainian refugees that want to come to Canada. I have spoken to residents in Brampton who are who are in tears, who are in fear. They've got loved ones right now in Ukraine that they're trying to contact, that they want to be able to bring to safety. And I think Canada needs to step up in a much more significant way.
Almost nothing was built as far as infrastructure is concerned, and I'm very much up for infrastructure. $300 billion spent during these COVID times. Our healthcare system hasn't improved. Where are we? We aren't seeing any new highways. So your take on this?
What does Justin Trudeau have to show for the last few years? He has spent more than any prime minister in Canadian history. He has spent more. He has spent like a drunken sailor, and what does he have to show for it? Nothing. We went into this pandemic with 91% of our hospital beds in use. It showed how fragile our healthcare system is, and he's done nothing to work with the provinces to build more healthcare capacity. I want to know what significant infrastructure projects, what significant healthcare accomplishments, what accomplishments does he have? He's very good at spending, but I do not see legacy. I do not see accomplishment.
My last thing is on immigration. We talk about immigration. I'm not really concerned about the numbers. You can bring in 100,000 or 1 million, but more importantly, how well are you integrating? And who better would know that? You've been the mayor of Brampton. Are we doing a good job on integrating the immigrants that we're bringing here in Canada?
I think especially during the last years, especially during COVID, there's been real frustrations with the bureaucracy of our immigration system, the roadblocks. My goal as Prime Minister would to be support as much as possible to help integrate, to help provide Canada as a land of opportunities. And what I mean by that is, I think everyone knows that part of Canada's success has been immigration. But there are barriers when you get here. Foreign credential recognition. There are individuals in our country with God-given talents that they can't use in our country because of roadblocks and bureaucratic red tape. And so it's one thing to be a welcoming country, but what are we doing to make sure individuals that come to Canada can use their skills and talent because they want to? And I saw that during the pandemic. During the pandemic, I had a press conference pleading with the government to allow us to use foreign trained nurses and doctors. We literally had thousands of people ready to step up and help when we were short, and we desperately needed help. And all I got was roadblocks from senior levels of government. And so, of course, I think Canada can do better. And I believe to my very core that this is something that Canada needs to jump all over. I meet every week individuals who've come to Canada with just a shirt on their back, and they've built companies, they've built prosperity, they've created employment. That's the Canadian dream. Get the barriers out of the way and allow Canadians to contribute using their God-given talents.
All right. I'll let you go, Patrick Brown, and wishing you all the best. On a sum-up note, I heard your speech, and there were many things. Maybe I wish we had more time, but you spoke about freedom. Freedom of press, it's very integral, but we've seen attacks on individuals who belong to media, and right here in Brampton there have been many attacks. Your final comments on that?
That I believe freedom of press needs to be protected, that press should never be intimidated, never face violence. There can be no tolerance for that in Canada.
All right. Thank you very much, Patrick Brown, and we wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
You are watching Channel Y, a South Asian Canadian channel.